Good morning. We're here to call the meeting of the Staff Hearing Officer, July 20th, to order, and welcome. So at this time, are there any requests for continuances, withdrawals, or postponements?
No.
Are there any announcements or appeals? We do have one appeal coming before the City Council on Tuesday, July 26th. It's an appeal of 1417 San Miguel. It's for a front setback modification that was denied originally by the Staff Hearing Officer and also denied at the Planning Commission. So it is being appealed at the City Council. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make any public comment on anything not on the agenda today? Seeing none. So I'd like to close the public hearing. So we're here, we have one item on today's agenda, and we have 2912 De La Vina Street, and it's a request for a front setback modification. Mr. Andrew Perez will be doing the staff presentation.
All right, good morning. So as you said, the project is located at 2912 De La Vina, and we have a 17,800 square foot parcel that is in the C2 zone and also part of the SD2 overlay zone. Current development on the site consists of a 1,200 square foot commercial building, it's a fast food restaurant, a 450 square foot front patio seating area, as well as an existing parking lot. Proposed development is proposing a 270 square foot expansion of the front patio, a lateral expansion, a new trellis to provide shade for the seating area, new awnings on the north, east, and south elevations, relocated ADA path of travel, as well as altered driveway envelopes. Transportation has reviewed the alterations to the driveway and is supportive of the proposal. ABR has reviewed this project, and the board expressed support for the modification as proposed and continue the item indefinitely to today's hearing. And the request before you today is a front setback modification to allow the trellis to encroach into the front setback in this area. And for a little background and discussion about this item, so it's in the C2 zone, which does not require a front setback, but the SD2 zone has a 10-foot front setback requirement. And it's important to note that the SD2 zone was established to impose certain traffic-related restrictions, but this property has already satisfied the 10-foot Hollister Street setback. So this project specifically is going to be a lateral expansion of the patio on either side of the existing patio. It will include an expansion of existing 26-inch high stone wall. The existing wall here is shown in red and is located 2.5 feet from the front property line. And the new wall will be of the same style and same height and is shown here in green. And the posts of the shade trellis will be incorporated into that stone wall. It can be better seen on the elevations here, be the new walls. And so it's important to note that, as you can see in the elevation, that the eaves of the trellis will encroach right up to the property line. And it's for this reason that staff is not supportive of the request for the front setback modification, because we believe the trellis will have an adverse effect on the openness of the streetscape. However, staff would be supportive of a redesign of either a smaller trellis or maybe attaching the trellis to the structure for an encroachment of no more than 5 feet into the front setback. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, thank you. Now to the applicant, if you can introduce yourself and make any presentation or additional comments as you'd like.
Sure. My name is Lauren Decent. I work for Sherry & Associates Architects. And as you can see, we got positive comments from ABR as well as the neighbors in the area. And we do have site photos, I think, that are in the file that show several examples of similar encroachments along the same street. And so we feel like it's in keeping with the neighborhood scape. In reviewing staff's recommendation for support of a 5-foot or a redesign with a 5-foot setback, we feel like our encroachment is only an additional 2.5 feet because the setback is to the post, not the eave encroachment. And because of the existing wall and pilasters, to us it seems from a design standpoint to make sense to use the existing structural elements to support the trellis rather than redesign it where we have a post just 2.5 feet back from there. So for those reasons, we request that the mod be considered as submitted.
Okay. So I did do a site visit yesterday to the area to see if there were any encroachments. I mean, it did appear that the whole streetscape along this side as well as across the street did have some, buffer, and they do. I don't know if they all met the 10 feet or less or more, but I didn't see many properties that.
Sorry, where are the additional photos that we brought to our last ABR hearing? I think we have several large printed.
I believe they're in the ABR design review file.
Oh, those are. Can we grab that? And sorry, also to note that Public Works has said that there's no issue with the Hollister Street setback with this proposal because it's not a building; it's a trellis.
Okay.
I think those photos are.
So I realize the trellis will still be open. The area will be open, and it's a nice outdoor seating area. But I am kind of feeling that to allow the overhead, the members of the trellis on top, to go all the way to the property line. I can understand why staff doesn't support that. And we also didn't get a landscape plan with that. Are you proposing to keep the hedge that's there in the planter area? Because that's a nice buffer.
Yeah, so if we go to the site plan,
Yeah, you can see the planter wrap around here and here.
so the planter area currently goes right here. The access to from the sidewalk comes down the middle, and we're proposing to relocate that to provide additional seating. And so we would actually extend the hedge right in front. So the trellis really would only extend over the existing landscape. It wouldn't be on any hardscape where anyone would be walking under. So for that reason also, we don't think that it's such a problem. And then, yes, we're proposing to continue the hedge along and wrap it on each side to, kind of buffer the additional seating and patio space. So that's Trader Joe's, which is right up against the property line. And we have several examples of roof lines going all the way to the property line as well, the eave extension.
Okay. Oops. What is this here? Part of the fan?
Can I see that? Oh, so this is the existing pilaster, and that's where we're proposing installing the post in the center of, because it's already there, would be a nice structural support. These would remain as well. Those are these blue.
I know you went to the Architectural Board of Review and they were supportive of the project, but I do feel that all the way to the property line would be too much of an encroachment. And I understand you're wanting to use the existing posts.
Is there a way that we could shorten the eave extension so they're not as long if we go to the elevations? So if this is the street, if we're able to keep the post there, we could potentially cut it back, an extra foot or so it's not right up against the property line. And that would kind of be the best of both worlds in that we can keep the design aesthetic, not have an extra post installed here with the pilaster there, and also provide shade for the whole seating area but give a little bit of relief from the property line.
Consider that.
And, if I could ask the applicant, so looking on this elevation, this doesn't have the planter, but the planter actually comes out to about the same level, right, to the property line as well. So there's, probably would have been good to show that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's shown in plan view, but I think you're right that if we would have shown the hedge comes up here, it shows that the eaves really don't stick out so far. You know, the sidewalk really doesn't start till over here.
So I'd like to open the public hearing. I don't know if, I don't see anyone. We did receive one letter from Carol Van Sand in support of the project. I can close the public hearing. Any other comments or from the applicant or staff? I like the idea of cutting back the eave. From a design standpoint, what if you ended the whole eave if you didn't have an overhang?
We have existing rafter tails coming off of the structure that we think it's important to match. I think ABR would also agree with that. So it would be, we would definitely need to have that extension off of the post and then a little bit of the base so that, it's not dying right into the other beam. So I don't see a way that ABR would support it if we just had it stop there, but
It's about 2 1/4.
2.5, about
2 1/2. How long is this?
2. Well, including the gutter, it's about 2, 1.5 without.
and this is a smaller member, so it's it's the same proportions, so it wouldn't have to be as long as that. But you can see the design of it, the way that it's trimmed. Mm-hmm. We would need to keep that, and so I think that we could probably start that element here, which would be, it looks like about a foot that we could remove. Present that to ABR and,
And
see
about
how
how
they
far
feel.
up does the hedge go? The planter area?
Let's take a look at the plan.
I just think the planter gives a nice break from the sidewalk, and to have the eaves all the way to the end is just...
So the planter currently is about 1.5 feet.
further out from where you're proposing the end of the eave?
Yes. Oh, no, further from where the post would be. So the post would be here, and currently the eaves are proposed to go all the way to the end of the planter. So if we took off a foot, then there would still be about, 6 inches of planter with the curbs, which the plants spill over the curb. So about an extra foot of hedge below before you get to the sidewalk.
Yeah, I think it's too close. When you're on that sidewalk and that frontage, you're going to have, it's just going to appear very close to the sidewalk. And
the sidewalk is also sloped down, and so it's significantly lower. Between here and here, there's a great distance where the finished floor is much higher here than here. There was a ramp, leading up to the front, which is also why we're proposing relocating this, because then there's less of a slope for the handicap access. So it's not like the eaves are just like right at this height. They're much higher than they even would be if you were sitting on the patio.
I think I would be supportive of having the posts at 5 feet back and allowing the 2 feet or whatever it is that you're proposing of the overhang of the eave come out in front of it. But having the post structures the 5 feet back as recommended by staff. So, can I get the
So if we go 5 feet back, and this is currently 1.5 to center line, it's 3.5 feet that we would have to have the post come here, and then there's a pilaster 2 feet there. So we're really now restricting our ADA access and seating plan because we have an additional post in the middle of the plan here. So,
Where's your ADA access though that you're restricting?
well, we have a whole seating plan. I mean, there will be tables and chairs there.
But you're able to move the seating around, so they're not.
So if we have a post now here, I think we're just really kind of breaking up the space and limiting the ability for flexible seating. I think that's something to
Yeah,
consider.
but you're also expanding your seating, so you'll end up with more seating than you have there now. So I would be inclined to still require the posts to be 5 feet back and have the massing of the trellis pushed back. So I am going to
Yeah, it's going to look really funny. I don't think ABR will like that.
Okay. So I am going to amend the staff recommendation, Kathy, that the staff hearing officer finds the modification is consistent with the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance and is necessary to secure an improvement on the lot. A trellis with the posts that encroach 5 feet into the setback with the rafter tails allowed to extend out, as shown on the plans. I believe it's around 2.5 feet, because it is consistent with the intent of the SD2 zone and will not adversely impact visual openness of the streetscape. And I'd also like to add a condition that the screening planning along the front remain to provide that buffer between the sidewalk and the seating area. So this decision is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 days. And also the Planning Commission may request that the item be pulled up to be heard before the full Planning Commission, if they so desire. That concludes this. That concludes the hearing, and we have no other items on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.